Hello and welcome back to our time together as I read from the book 52 Bible Characters Dramatized. And today we read about Rahab. Our scripture comes from Hebrews chapter 11, verse 31. By faith, the prostitute Rahab was not killed with those who were disobedient. My life in the famous city of Jericho was not one to be envied, but it was all I had ever known. For a number of years, I lived in a most unusual home. It was located on top of the walls of Jericho. Actually, our fortified city had a double wall encircling it, and my house was built over the gap between the walls. My home was well known to all, especially to the officials of our city, as well as to the many prosperous merchant travelers. They all knew me simply as Rahab the harlot. Ours was the most powerful and thriving city in the entire land of Canaan. It was also a beautiful place, widely known as the place of palms and fragrance. Yet, in spite of all this prosperity and beauty about me, I felt an emptiness in my life. Somehow, our lewd and sensuous worship of Baal and the goddess Ashtoreth had never been spiritually satisfying to me. Recently, some of our traveling visitors related accounts about the Israelites and said that these religious people were now encamped just across the Jordan River. They told thrilling stories about the Israelites' God and the unusual miracles he had done for them since they first fled from Egypt more than 40 years ago. I had a growing hunger to learn more about this powerful deity. One day, 2 Jewish strangers visited me in my home. I did not think this odd until I realized that they had not come for the usual favors. Instead, they began to tell me about their great Jehovah God and how he would soon deliver our city of Jericho into their hands. My curiosity was aroused. It wasn't long, however, before our chief ruler sent several officials to my home with this message. Bring out the men who came to you and entered your house, because they have come to spy out the whole land. Somehow I had the feeling that these 2 Jews were good men and that I should protect them. Instead of producing the strangers, I quickly hid them under some stalks of flax which were drying on the roof. Then I told the king's officers, yes, the men came to me, but I did not know from where they had come. At dusk, when it was time to close the city gate, the men left. Go after them quickly. You may still catch up with them. I returned to the 2 men hiding on the roof. After feeding them an evening meal, I began to question them further about their Jewish religion. I was anxious to learn more about their Jehovah God. Gradually, I began to realize that this was the truth for which my heart had been searching. With heartfelt conviction, I told them, I truly believe that the Lord your God is God in heaven above and on the earth below, and will give this land to the Israelites. My only concern now was for the safety of my parents and family. Give me a sure sign that you will spare the lives of my father and mother, my brothers and sisters, and all who belong to them, I pleaded. The 2 Jewish men assured me that if I followed their directions, my life and the lives of my entire household would be saved during their victorious return. Still, after that evening, we planned their escape. I bound a scarlet rope about the waist of one of the men, and I lowered him from my window to the ground below. After he was safely down, I did the same for the second man. Now they would not have to go out of the city gate and risk capture and certain death. Before they left, I advised them that they could escape the pursuers by hiding for 3 days in the mountain west of Jericho before returning to their home camp. The 2 men told me that I must keep the scarlet rope hanging from my window in order to ensure the lives of my family. A week later, we heard frightening reports that the Israelites had crossed the Jordan River miraculously over dry ground and were now marching toward our city. Then something strange began to occur. For the next 6 days, while we remained shut up within our city walls, the Israelites marched around our city once each day. They blew ram's horns and followed a strange-looking box with 2 golden cherubims stretched across its lid. Though fearful, our people were much amused at this humorous spectacle and jeered at the crowd as they passed. The 7th day came, with the Israelites still marching and blowing. On their 7th time around, suddenly a tremendous shout was heard. Our mighty walls collapsed with the deafening crash. Instantly, the Israelite army poured into the city with drawn swords and destroyed every living thing in sight. When the army approached my home, we were terrified. But the same 2 men whom I had let down through the window came in and escorted my family and me to a place of safety. From that entire city, we were the only survivors. I continued my new life with these Hebrew people and began to worship their Jehovah God as my own. I married one of their leaders, a man named Salmon, and now God has blessed our happy home with a son we called Boaz. How I praise Jehovah, the one true God, for sparing my life and changing me from a sinful harlot to one of his own dear people. And here are a couple scripture references. Joshua chapter 2 and chapter 6, verse 25. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 31, and James chapter 2, verse 25. And here, a spiritual reflection. Rahab was the great-great-grandmother of David, the king and ancestress of Mary, the mother of Jesus. Boaz became the husband of Ruth, and they were the parents of Obed, father of Jesse, father of King David, and the forerunner of Jesus Christ, the Messiah. And here are a couple suggested hymns. Only a Sinner and Depth of Mercy. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time.